So welcome everybody, and welcome to this to the session. Please take a seat and please try to listen and learn something, because we have a bunch of experts here around the table. We're going to discuss the data center at the forefront of the vision of a data-driven world. It's not only a vision, it's more already a strategy, because we all do know, and we heard it this morning as well, and in our previous panel discussion, it is all about that. And so we have the senior panelists and senior experts in the industry from around the world here. And I'll give them a quick minute to introduce themselves. And of course, I will start with Cristina Conti. Please, Cristina, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for having me. I'm Cristina Conti, and I'm a manager at Google Cloud. I lead a team of customer engineers working mostly with telco customers. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much. An honor having you. So let's go to Mark. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Eric, and a pleasure to be here. So my name is Mark Acton. I'm based in London. I work for a company called Future Tech, who essentially design large data centers around the world. In my particular case, I've been a consultant, both managing data centers and helping others to manage data centers for about 25 years. So still learning. So really pleased to join this panel.
Fantastic. Genghis, cool to have you, my friend. Good to see you again, please.
Happy to be here. So I'm hailing in from warm and hot Doha, Qatar. I'm the CEO for GBI, currently a submarine network operator, but soon to be stepping into the data center world.
Okay, cool having you. And last but not least, Jens, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jens Leuchters. I'm the managing director at a company called New Telco. New Telco is best described as an infrastructure system integrator. Everything around co-location, data center, hardware, any type of connectivity, whether we're talking cross connects inside the data centers or connectivity between data centers, data center to an off-net site or off-net site, and all surrounded with our own field and service engineering team. Our main hub or installations are in Frankfurt, but we also have some installation internationally, Stockholm, Amsterdam, London, Vienna. And we also run a little data center in Kiev, where we host the Detail IX, which is currently the largest in the Ukraine in terms of traffic, 2 tera actually. And we also have a little data center in Tbilisi, Georgia. And thanks, happy to be again here.
Cool having you. At least I'm not alone here, guys. At least I'm not alone, right? All righty. Talking about the data centers at the forefront of the vision-driven world on the data side. Listen, okay, so yeah, let's go to Christine. Let's go to you. I would like to know from you. I mean, from a Google point of view, how do you see the data center landscape? What are the key drivers? What's out there? What's important now? How can you characterize the landscape from your point of view?
So I would say that there are a number of key topics that are relevant for us. And of course, I'm speaking from the point of view of a public cloud provider.
Sure.
That makes the data centers what basically serves our regions. I think there are a number of key items. The first one is making sure that through this data centers, we can serve our customers with the best and most important technology that they need to use. And secondly, that the way we build these data centers and the way we, on our side, create these regions is as sustainable as possible. So I would say that these are probably some of the main drivers that are crucial right now in the landscape. And I think if we look at the future, it will become more and more important, because as sustainability becomes a key topic for customers and in general for consumers, to be honest, the more important it will be to make sure that we target this as a key goal in our data center goals. When it comes to solutions and products for customers, again, as I said, it's very important that in the fast world that we have right now in technology, data centers are able to provide customers with exactly what they need at the time they need it.
All right, fantastic. And I'll come back with a question to you on the sustainability for sure. What about you? How you help the guys out there to be more sustainable, which I know you're doing a terrific job in this one. So going to Mark. Mark, what is your take on the data center landscape today? What kind of trends do you see? What are the key drivers? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, I clearly agree with Christina. You know, we're in a boom industry right now. There is more and more demand from data centers of all types. You know, we are all consuming digital services. Some parts of the world are very well satisfied with or provided with digital services. Some parts of the world are still very much growing, and infrastructure is developing in some of the more sort of remote areas that you know, less well developed areas traditionally. On the flip side of that, you know, we have something of a crisis in the industry on two levels. One, obviously increasing energy supply, energy costs, and energy supply generally. So, you know, that is affecting all of us directly. But the other side of that is that from a media perspective, we're very much under the microscope in terms of the amount of energy that we consume as a sector. So I think we have to do two things. We have to very much make people understand the way that we're working and the services, the essential services that we're providing, and obviously the overhead of that. And obviously we do have to very much reduce our energy consumption, both from a cost perspective, but also from a sustainability perspective, as Christina said. So we're in an interesting place, booming, but we know we have a lot to do. All
right, going to Doha. Cengiz, I mean, you're investing a huge amount of money in this. Tell us, what do you see from your perspective?
Well, several things, right? I mean, if as an industry, if you go back a few years, data centers were looked at as glorified warehouses, right? And all of a sudden now, what we're seeing is that they're at the heart of the technology, right? They're the ones that form the ecosystem in any given place from a digitalization perspective. So there is, again, last 5 years or so, everybody has been talking about the data boom, right? How the data consumption increases and will continue to increase with the 5G. But a natural extension to this is, you know, where this data is going to reside and how it's going to be stored, right? So this is exactly what's happening now. The attention is being shifted to the data centers, and being in a region of interest to many of the cloud players, right? As their worldwide expansion continues, we see a lot of traction in the GCC, in the Gulf region, in the Middle East. Many of the hyperscalers, cloud hyperscalers, are opening up regions right, left, center in this area, in this geography, and it brings a super dynamic business environment around data centers for us. And obviously this drives many other things, right? It drives the connectivity business. It drives ancillary businesses that go with the data center. So it's an exciting time to be talking about data centers. And going back to Mark's comment, I know we're going to touch on this in the next few minutes, but we're sitting in a position that's almost very counterintuitive to any discussion that, in a region like Middle East where average temperatures are 40 degrees C, right? We're building a bunch of data centers because we have extremely competitive power prices, right? Electricity prices. So right now, what's happening in Europe with the shortage in demand and skyrocketing prices, all of a sudden, nobody would have thought that Middle East would be a region of attraction to build data centers because of the, plenty of supply. I mean, I'll give you an example. Qatar, for instance, is a country that has surplus in energy, right? So we have to spend that energy on something. There is a surplus. We can even afford to give it for free, right, to a certain extent. Whereas major regions and countries in the world are suffering from shortage and hiking prices. We're sitting in a very comfortable position and saying that, hey, if you're interested in cheap energy, we can afford this and we can give this to you. So very interesting dynamics and counterintuitive trends are taking place in the industry as we speak today.
Okay, thank you. Jens, I mean, talking about sustainability, we'll come to that, because I know with your new data center, the power you're using and the warmth you're using, you're giving back to the community. So I know your model. But what is your take on the data center landscape as a whole? What do you see?
Well, first of all, to answer that question, how is the data center foreseen as a forefront of the digitalization? So I have different aspects here. So it depends what kind of data center are you building. Are you building a data center that is purely built for hyperscaler, for instance? Then that's a different role, rather than when you build a data center that is built for a carrier community, for instance, or if you build a co-location data center. So that is what we are doing. So from a new telco point of view, we are not at the forefront. We are on the hook of the large increase of data and capacity in the world. Daniele explained it very in his first presentation this morning, and that was exactly like, yeah, these carriers need more space, more power, and I'm, as a carrier neutral data center provider, I'm on the hook of that. If I'm focused on a cloud like Google does, of course, and developing apps and selling that to the consumer as well to the business, and driving digitalization with it, then there is one factor for the forefront is time, because the industry cannot even build at that speed like Google needs data center space quick enough. So this may be also a reason why Google is about to build their own data centers. The aspect that Mark were mentioning, it's for us, it's a completely different problem, the increase of power prices compared to Google, for instance. Like, you know, we are building, actually, like you said, we are building the data center. We are building a data center without having a angle tenant. So I don't have a power profile. So how should I buy power now, where I probably need to pay for a megawatt €1,000, or down to the kilowatt is €1 plus tax, plus fees, plus POE. So I nearly need to sell power at a level of 170 to €2 per kilowatt. Nobody will buy this. So as a smaller organization, that's for us a really problem, a huge problem, how that has an impact to us as a company. Larger organizations like Google or Equinix or Amazon, they easily can, or maybe not easily, but they can absorb this much better than we can do this. So this impact of power increase will have an impact to the market prices. It must have an impact to the market prices, because it has an impact to the CapEx as well to the OpEx, to any data center company and any company that is actually building a data center. And last but not least, to Cengiz, what Cengiz mentioned, of course, you know, the power is so cheap in that area. I think, Cengiz, we were about 3 cents per kilowatt or something like this. Well, if the power price would the only argument to build a data center, then any data center need to be in that region. But of course, there are much more reasons where to build a data center. But I think, you know, the data center industry under these circumstances is in a very challenging situation currently, especially in Europe.
Okay, thank you. Christina, he's attacking you. No way. No. No, but what I would like to ask you, Christina, and maybe you can explain to us the importance, for instance, of the virtualization, the AI, the machine learning, the big data, you know, and its possible or potential disruptive elements it might have. Mm-hmm. So from a Google perspective, what kind of innovation is Google bringing on the cloud market on these, and what could be the impact? So let's go into it now.
So I think that it relates to what I was saying before when it comes to what we bring and the landscape from our point of view. And probably this is really the first of the two pieces, right? So the innovation in technology. So basically, I would say that this go back to what we can offer and what we can provide to our customers in general. And I would say that this goes from, looking at the basics, so looking at what type of infrastructure services we can provide to our customers. Basically, this relates to just working on migrating your workloads to cloud, which of course will reside on machines that are located within data centers, but then you can build on top of that. So it's not just virtual machines and pure virtualization, but we're moving to ensuring that whatever you build can be basically cloud native, leveraging on things like containerization, leveraging on workloads that can be more effective and more fastly changeable. And then probably we go into what happens next. And this means how we can unlock everything that a platform like Google Cloud can offer to customers, meaning the ability to leverage on all of your data in a secure manner. So making sure that what you do in cloud is fully secure, is fully encrypted, is fully managed whenever you want to do that. At the same time, moving on the ladder, we offer the possibility to our customers to manage data in the most powerful manner. And data resides, I would say, at the center of the endless possibilities that cloud can provide, because you can basically scale your data almost infinitely, I would say, depending, of course, on what you have to do. And once you're able to do that, you can manage them effectively. So first of all, you can ensure that your data have the right data governance, and then you can build on top of that with machine learning, with AI. You can create applications that leverage on artificial intelligence algorithms and provide value-added services to customers. So there's really a ladder that is very, very connected and starts with IT, and honestly also goes back to being sustainable, because it is part of the process that we also use within our offering, within our data centers, to make sure that what we provide is fully optimized from an energy point of view. So it's kind of a type of innovation that we use ourselves to make sure that what we offer is actually at its best. And that's also what we try to provide our customers with, technology that can be used to their best.
All right, thank you. Mark, I think you agree fully, or you agree partly?
No, I agree fully with Christina. I think, going back to one of the things I said earlier, one of the challenges we face at the moment in the data center sector is the fact that we are under quite a high degree of pressure from the media and even potentially from governments increasingly trying to regulate and legislate because of the perceived energy consumption. But we also have some of a paradox around that. So, governments, citizens, we're all demanding more digital services. We're all demanding access to more data. We all want to use it in more intelligent ways, as Christina says, exactly. But at the same time, by doing that, we are inevitably consuming more energy to do that. So I think we have to educate and make people realize that, these digital services come at a cost, that we have to understand that it's not the data center that is causing the energy consumption to rise. It's the services that are provided from within data centers. And I think we need to explain to governments and indeed citizens and, sustainability activists that actually what we need to do is make the IT infrastructure and the systems and the applications that we actually use to provide these services more energy efficient and more sustainable. And I think, that's exactly what Christina was describing in terms of what Google is trying to do, trying to reduce that environmental burden and yet supply increasing levels of digital services and increasing levels of I'm not going to say data, I would say information. Data is the raw. Information is the data that has been worked on and has added value to it, which is really what we're looking for, rather than just pure data. But of course, that comes from the data that resides within data centers. So I think, you know, the big challenge we face as a sector, I think, is making the public and government aware of what actually happens in a data center and the services that are being provided, and the inevitable overhead of doing that. We all want more, you know, we just got to do it more efficiently. Otherwise, I do think there's a danger that governments will jump on us and start regulating and doing all sorts of strange things that, you know, will not actually help anybody. They'll potentially, you know, make things worse. That law of unintended consequences may come back to bite us. So I think we've got to do a lot of education and explanation. That was my key, as well as Christina says, making the IT and digital infrastructure more efficient and more sustainable. So yeah, I agree.
No, I understand. No, but on top of that, it's also the secure environment, because we don't like hacks. We don't want to be hacked with when we are online with our banks, whatever. But people should understand that this comes with a cost. And that is something, but what you just mentioned, Mark, I think it's important. So yes, I do agree with you by saying that education is actually an utmost key, because I can tell you, even for instance, in the Netherlands, where somebody wanted to build a huge hyperscaler data center, and they sort of, the government, you know, twisted it a little bit, like, you know, it's not so green, it's not sustainable, it's not that, whatever. But on the other side, they would like to have, of course, that all the data is secure. And that cannot, by the end of the day, I'll repeat, it cannot be solely, you know, at my IT room in my office. It can't be. So we need to do something, and it comes to a cost. But that's a take from me on this one. But Jens, please. I mean, what Christina and Jens said. What's your take on that one? How do you see it?
How green or how green is green enough, right? That's the question, really. Yeah. And of course, you know, this is a discussion that we have. Of course, everybody would love to have a carbon neutral data center. And that's the goal, of course, yeah, but we're on the way to be honest, right? But it's not that easy. Also, let's face it. I mean, if you look at a data center per se is not a rocket science technology, right? You need power security, you need access security, you need cooling and the force. But and please, yeah, you know, as efficient as possible. I mean, this is also a very important factor for us, right? The power usage efficiency factor is a very important factor, because the better it is, the cheaper we can sell the capacity to our customers. But again, this comes with a high investment, right? You know, it's very expensive to build a very power efficient data center. Then you can build on green energy, right? You use solar panel, you have a green wall, whatever. Maybe you have a plant for some greens. Yeah, you can heat with your upheat. You know, there are some ideas, but everything comes at a price, and not every data center has a chance to use the heat to heat a kindergarten or to heat a quarter, a residential quarter. If you are close enough and you have a pipe system from a government that supports it, fine. But also you need pumps and pumps and pumps and pumps. And again, it's not at a zero cost, and that need to be clear. It does not come at a zero cost, those things. And also, I mean, how green is green? And we need to, of course, when you're building a data center, and you're talking to the public and you're talking to the politics, they're telling you, oh, this is how energy intense it is. This is, again, to Mark's point, this is not true, because the data centers are responsible not for the one. No? A PUE factor tells you how much power you need to cool 100 kilowatt. If you have a 1.3, you need 30% on top. The data center is responsible for the 30%. The one comes from the customer. And the one comes from the customer also when he has installed his IT on premise. And that one is even worse, because it's an old fashioned IT room, an old carpet, dripping air cons, etc., etc. So this is why we also need to, and especially in Germany, the customer landscape, as we call it, Mittelstand, so small, medium enterprises, to attract those customers to have both, of course, right? Using clouds, it's a very important aspect. They need to use cloud, probably not all things into the cloud. Some of those customers want to keep some very sensitive data on-premise, where nobody else than their own IT people has access to, and this on-premise need a co-location data center. And that's for us a very good hybrid solution. And then of course, all the connectivity, what we have learned in the panel discussion earlier, from the I-axis to the rack of the data center, need to be secure too.
Okay, thank you. Cengiz, what's your take? What can you say?
Look, I mean, a lot has been said right until now, which is pretty much in line with exactly similar thoughts that I have. I mean, the fact is that whatever we do day by day, it's every application, every use case, every usage of the technology, it gets more and more power hungry, right? And this has been an issue starting in the semiconductor industry and all the way scaling up to data centers, right? I mean, if you talk to the semiconductor manufacturers today, that's their biggest issue, right? How do they cool the new generation chips and chipsets, right? That are more power hungry and that are more efficient and faster. So people will demand faster. People will demand high performance computing and efficiency. And it will be on the shoulders of the manufacturers, like the semiconductors or other equipment that we use, right, to come up with the new technologies to minimize the power requirements of these super technologically advanced devices. So at the end of the day, from a pure end user perspective, all we care is the latest and greatest, which is almost guaranteed to be more power hungry. But look at the data center places, right? I mean, if you look at the evolution of per rack total power, I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Compared to 5-10 years ago. And it's going to continue that way. I mean, there are different industry forecasts and thumbnails and arguments about how much more power we can pack into these small devices. But it all comes down to a bit of a balance, right? I think as an industry, the technology is there to do the magical work, but it comes with a price tag, right? And finding that balance is the key. What are we trying to achieve with what we have at hand?
Okay, so cooling has been mentioned because it's one of the factors. So Christina, how can Google make sure that these guys optimize more? How can you support them, and how do you currently support them?
So we have, so first of all, we have a number of things that we do. I think when it comes to specifically cooling, we basically apply AI and machine learning to ensure that our data centers are energy efficient and cool down more effectively. And we do this by analyzing the data that comes in terms of the PUE information that we have from our data centers. So basically, this is, in a way, what I was saying earlier, an application of what we offer applied to our own. I would say that expanding on that, and going more widely on even how we generally offer a sustainable approach to our customers to use our regions, our data centers. There are a number of other things that we try to do, and I would say that there are a couple of cool things that one can test for themselves. One of this is the region picker. So whenever a customer decides to create a workload and deploy it on cloud, what they can do is deploy it right away using the choice of the region picker. So the region picker basically helps you select which region to use for a certain workload depending on what's most important for you. Of course, cost can be a factor, latency can be another factor, but it's really a type of offer that we do. Going more in detail, you can actually analyze for your workloads the carbon data based on the workloads that you use. So for each project that you have deployed on a Google region, you're able to analyze the carbon footprint for the year, the emission trends, the net operational emissions, the carbon emissions for by each project, by each product, and by each region. And this way, we are basically trying to provide some of that intelligence that comes through data to our customers to use. And basically that kind of creates kind of a virtual circle that where we try to ensure that what our customers do and what we do all aim to that same goal. Of course, everything that was said before doesn't become untrue. It's not so easy. There are a number of things that need to be done, but I think that this type of data-driven approach tries to put an additional foot into ensuring that we get there effectively, especially with the increase in data, the increase in data centers, the increase in the need of building this type of services.
All right, thank you. Cengiz, on the operator level, I mean, GBI is an operator by the end of the day, right? So can you tell us a little bit about how the operators need to facilitate or to attract actually the finance part in it, you know, to green financing, if you want to say this. So, and what do you see as are the main obstacles for operators facing implementing sustainable data centers solutions? Mouthful, well, I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, traditionally, from a financing perspective, data centers have been viewed as real estate investments, right? A lot of the large financing institutions, they look at a data center, as I said, in a way that it's a bit of a glorified warehouse, right? It's usually under their real estate investment arms and divisions, right? You know, recently what I'm seeing is that this is somewhat shifting towards their, you know, technology departments, maybe even more specific to their TMT, technology, media, telco divisions, and those are the guys that are looking at the data centers and making these investment decisions. And you know, depending on where you are in which part of the world you are, that financing also depends on what kind of a data center you're going to build, right? Are you going to build a green data center, environmentally friendly data center, you know, a data center that combines you know, certain renewable energy practices into it. So there's a lot that goes into it, but at the end of the day, again, everything comes down to IRRs, right? My feel is that even today, people are, when they're making investment decisions, they're looking at the IRRs. But if there are two equal opportunities that yield the same IRRs, and one is more friendly, green and eco-friendly and sustainable versus the other, obviously people choose that one over the other one. But I think it's still very much of a return-based driven discussion at the moment.
Mark, do you really think, and it's a question which pops up immediately actually, do you think that actually the customers of a data center would really use the instrument or the argument of how green you are, and as Gian said, green, how green is green, but will they, how much do they take this into consideration for their choice of the data center, or is it more still the geographical area, city, or what have you, or the solutions that they provide? So what is the current trend, and will the green aspect change that a little bit? Any one of you, you jump in.
Yeah, I'll take that first, Eric. Yes, I think, you know, ESG, sustainability credentials are absolutely becoming very, very important to customer choice. But I think you also got to remember there are different sorts of customers. You know, those customers, say, let's say, for instance, the hyperscalers like Google, very, very keen if they're moving into co-location, for instance, as they do in some parts of the world, very, very keen to make sure they are getting sustainable power, you know, be it PV, wind, whatever. Very, very keen to do that. And it's a big message that's coming in. For other people, you know, the smaller enterprises that are moving into co-location potentially, cost is still, I think, very much a significant factor. They are very, very keen to make sure they are able to sustain the cost. And if it comes with a green label, then that is fantastic. That is great. And that will certainly help the decision making. But I'm afraid not every enterprise customer will necessarily go in that direction. A lot of the, you know, the sustainability and ESG is being driven by, dare I say, their own customers and their own customers' expectations. You know, banks increasingly, for instance, are pushing out their sustainability credentials. So I think a lot depends on the type of customer. I think, you know, smaller customers tend to be very much more price conscious. Very much as Jens was saying earlier, you know, the reality is for smaller operators and for smaller customers, then price is absolutely fundamental to the continuation of their business. And, you know, in some cases, green does get pushed to the back of the numerous choices that are made. The other things that you talk about, again, as Christina mentioned, as Cengiz mentioned, you know, your latency that comes into it. You've got the, you know, what part of the world you actually want to operate in. There's data sovereignty. You know, where you host your data is extremely important. You know, from a legislative and government perspective. Point of transaction is important for taxation purposes. Now, where a transaction is conducted can be determined by the location of that server conducting the transaction. And that has potential tax implications too. So green is certainly an increasing factor. Green is certainly very much at the forefront of a lot of choices, but it's not the only. You know, there are a number of competing, conflicting, possibly choices that people have to make, and different customers, different businesses will order those choices in different ways. So I wish I could give you a simple answer. I wish there was one simple answer. There isn't. But green is certainly rising to the surface in terms of many customers, yes.
No, because this is exactly where I wanted to have you, because it was not so much a question, it was more, let's say, a curveball, which I threw here in this panel. Because I know, because by the end of the day, I also believe that, let's say, a green sticker or the greenest sticker on your entrance door, once you've been through 4 phases of security of a data center, will, let's say, it's fantastic, but are they willing to pick up the bill for it? You know, are they ready to pay for it? So Jens, please.
Another point, don't think about, are they willing to pay for it? I mean, if you're talking about a brand new data center, you know, building from scratch is a completely different to a data center that is on the market for 15 or 20 odd years. I mean, if somebody, I don't know if somebody in the audience know this famous place in Frankfurt called Klaya Campus. It's an industrial building from 1920.
It's an ugly building,
and
by the way.
And you know, if you think this is one of the major hubs in Europe where most of the carriers land, you will never get this green. You would need to destroy the building and start from scratch. So, and yeah, and this is not just one example. Or, you know, I'm a colo provider, so I have some own data centers, but I also customer of data center providers, Equinix, for instance, but other providers as well. And I'm in a data center in Frankfurt. The building I'm in is 15 years old. The POE factor is so ugly, so worse, and they won't get it. They won't get it better without huge investment. So.
But it's made out of concrete, and you use that concrete, that building.
Of course, yeah. So, but again, sorry, I mean, that's my green stamp I could put on my data center other than the solar panel, but honestly, that's greenwashing. You know, if you ask me, right? So that gives me something green, but you know, it's by accident, right?
So do we need legislation for that? Or should we keep that far away? I just want to get to the answer. If let's say the consumption it takes and I mean, it depends from one country to the other country how the image is. And then Christina, I know you're fantastic and Google is fantastic in trying to create and to think with the market and come with solutions and, you know, to make it as sustainable as possible together with AI, whatever you do. I understand this, but still we need to buy in. And I would like to see where is the answer that the people will say, listen, you know, it's not, oh, there's a data center. No, oh, hey, I'm proud because that's a data center. To change that mindset and what is needed for that. And of course, we can play around with the green washing or green playing or whatever you want. But how can we make it, let me say, how can we make it a bit more funky? Because by the end of the day, everybody wants security. My data should be protected. If it comes to your personal data, it needs to be protected. Yeah, but you don't want to have cost for this one. It's not maybe not too much environmental friendly. You don't want this. So it's a paradox. I mean, Mark, you were talking about this already previously. So where is the answer? What can we do? And what is the takeaway? And think about this, guys, open question. What could be the takeaway for us here in the audience to see not only what we will see, but what would we would like to see? Well, what do you think? I mean, maybe Jens, what is not only giving the answers, but what would be, you know?
Yeah,
it's a fair. What would be fair?
It's a very good question, I think. I mean, I think we all about proud of what we do, and we are in a fantastic industry, and on all levels are connected each other, which is great. Of course, you know, in that industry, we are always have to fulfill whatever, you know, any less complexity for our customers adds more complexity to us and to our ecosystem. That makes it very interesting for us, but also very challenging. So, but coming back to your question, so we are, you know, all of us, we are very proud of what we are doing. We are proud of our data centers. We are proud of our cloud, our apps, our network, and whatever. So I was asking that question myself a couple of years ago. You know, Frankfurt has the largest IX, 10 terabit currently and above in the world. Do you, when you go and ask the people in Frankfurt, do you know DKIX? No. Do you know
kicks? They think about football.
They have no ideas. Do you know a data center? They don't know. They have no idea what's behind these fans, what's behind there. They don't know. Of course, if you tell them without these data center, without these DKIX, you know, your Netflix would not work, your online banking would not work, because they use it day in, day out, and they have no blimmin' idea where this is produced. And you need to think of, you know, I always explain them like, think of a factory. We are a data factory, reproducing your data, either we direct or with partners or the ecosystem, but you see the result on your smartphone. And I welcome them to show them, right? I take them, I invite school classes to show the data center. And of course, not because I just like it and I like to show them the stuff. We also need to build very early an interest in the society for people or kids who said, oh, that's cool, I want to work there.
So and therefore not only interest, but also understanding.
Understanding. And hopefully from 10 people, 2 boys, 3 girls said, that's the industry I want to work with in the future.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Let's wrap it up a little bit. Christina, what should people, what kind of takeaway do you have? I'm not asking about the glass ball because I have them at home already, so I know. No kidding. But what would your takeaway be for the audience? What do you what can they expect?
So I think, and it connects to what has just been said. I think there are a number of things. There is an evidence. There is a certainty. The world we live in right now will require more data centers, more services, more data, and that's because we cannot live without the online internet banking, the streaming services, and the whatnot. So what do I see? What do I hope? And this becomes also a personal belief rather than just my company belief. I have 2 small children, and my hope is that they learn from scratch, from the start, for sure, what a data center is, how what they get in the internet world today is built and created, but also they learn what they can do to make it effective, to make that switch from their day-to-day into what it means to be sustainable, not just personally, but also to live in the ecosystem that we live in. So I don't have one answer or a takeaway, but I do believe that a concept like the ESG is great. We need to move further on that, to grow even more. Starting from that, it's a great starting point, but we need to really probably build a common sense, a common layer about what green means, not just from the personal perspective, but also from the enterprise perspective, which at the end of the day provide the services that we use, any type of services. And I know this is not one answer, it's just the hope and the ultimate goal where I believe we should go to.
And not only to you, Christina, but to everybody, hope is the best we have. That's the best we have. And next to time, because tell me, I know I need more time as well. So Cengiz, so thank you, Christina. Cengiz, what's your takeaway for the audience?
Look, I mean, as an industry, whether this is on the connectivity side or the data center side, we've always been in the background of things, right? We're fueling this whole growth and evolution behind the scenes. And although I understand what Jens is trying to say, I find it a little bit of a Cinderella story that people will understand what we do, right? Or people should understand. At the end of the day, and if you go buy a car, all you want to stick the ignition, press on the button, and then drive it from point A to point B. You don't necessarily understand the combustion engine, or to that matter today, electrical engines and all the details and how this is done. People don't really care, right? People, when they pick up their screen, right? This could be a phone, PC, or a tablet, whatever, and they launch an application, they expect it to work, just like you expect your car to work from taking you to point A to point B. And you can't really possibly educate everybody. So in that sense, what I expect is, all this hype, all this demand that's being built, we continue to meet the expectations and support it in the background, right? I mean, if the software guys come up with new applications that require, faster, low latency usage, we support it. We're there for it. I mean, nobody turns back and says that, we've had all the technological advancements, but it's the lack of the submarine connectivity or the data center capacity or capability that prohibited this evolution. This is my take from it, right? We continue to support it. We stay in the backgrounds. Obviously, there are different issues with talent attraction. If Jens's point is more towards talent attraction into the industry, I'm all for it. But I kind of gave up on educating the general public long time ago, right? It's it's mission impossible. But attracting talent is something that I'm quite it's near and dear to my heart, right, to this industry. And like I said, we meet the expectations of the whole industry.
Okay, thank you. Mark, what's your takeaway? How does the future look? What can we expect? What do you think?
So I'm going to offer you hopefully a little bit of a glimpse of the future, and maybe I do have a slight crystal ball. So the first thing we've got to appreciate is there is no single metric for overall data center energy efficiency. It doesn't exist. People tend to use PUE as a proxy, but as Jens quite rightly said earlier, what we need to do with PUE is make one smaller, not the bit after it. And PUE is it can be counterintuitive. You can actually lower your PUE and consume more kilowatt hours. So it can't possibly be an energy efficiency metric. And we need to get over that. what you will see, I am pretty sure, is the other metrics alongside PUE that sit within the ISO 30134 series will become more important for reporting. So rather than just reporting on PUE, we will be reporting on water usage. We will be reporting on carbon output. We will be reporting on heat reuse. We will be reporting on energy, sustainable energies, in renewable energy factor, as it's called. So the thing that many people don't realize is that we already have a series of sustainability metrics. Even though we don't have energy efficiency overall, we do have sustainability metrics alongside PUE. And I am pretty sure we are going to be reporting more against a range of metrics, which will give us more visibility on what's going on and what's happening, rather than just focusing on what is effectively the building overhead. And the reason I say that is because the European Union are currently working on a framework for reporting that will come in 2024, which will include those metrics. And it's part of the EU taxonomy. So I do have a slight crystal ball because I'm working on that committee. So I do think it'll happen. Again, go and look for the ISO IEC 30134 series, because that will probably give you a glimpse of the future.
Thank you so much. Jens, some last?
Yeah, the last. So very quick. I never be quick. No,
he's never quick, you know that?
Sorry,
he's never quick.
So first of all, I love Dring's quote, I never give up to train the society about what we are doing in the background. I always learn that I fail myself very good, because all the time when my neighbors know what I'm doing and they're asking me, are you working in telecoms? I have a computer problem. Can you please help me? And I said, no, I can't, sorry. So I start from scratch. So, and then also to what Christina said, I'm proud of this industry because it develops so much good things. Like my children are using apps that have been just not existing when I was a kid, like, they're going buying food in a shop and they're having an app. It's called "It's Too Good to Go" when it's just at their due date of it's going overdue, and then they buy it simply. Yeah. So that's something. So we give a lot back to the society, and because we are in the industry, it's possible that we have these very good developments. So do I have a crystal ball? Yeah, I do have a crystal ball. I can assure you the data that we store in a data center will grow dramatically still. And that is our common ground, that we have data will be in a data center, full stop, nowhere else.
Thank you, Jens. Thank you, Christina. Honor having you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cengiz, cool stuff, guy. Good to have you. Good to have you back on the block. Fantastic.
Good to be here.
And Mark, thank you so much for your insights, and good to see you, and hope to see you all back soon. All right. So
thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you,
So
Eric.
guys, thank you so much. Ciao, bye bye.
Bye.
And I would like to thank the audience for sticking with us. And for once in my life, I made it on time with the panel discussion, even with Jens next to me.